If you thought you'd seen some cynical character replacements before, where they replace the dude with the strong female lead who don't need no man, this one might take the cake. It's a pretty weird one from Boom Studios in their new Power Rangers comic. Now, Boom Studios, of course, is owned by Mark Waid. It is one of the SJW bastions out there, along with IDW and, of course, the rest of the mainstream comic book industry. So let's get into what's happening, because this is really wild. And there seems to be a concerted effort, of course, to torch this guy, mainly because, the actor who plays him is dead. And this is where, this first started, and I first saw this the other day. This comes from a person who's talking. This is a movie producer here, Zachary Taylor McGinnis, who says, a year after you selfishly took your own life, hundreds have followed suit in your name. There has been so much smoke blown up your ass. You should be floating in the Thanksgiving Macy's Day Parade. It must chap your ass that the Red Ranger floats each year instead of you. Frankly, I'm glad you're dead. I wish your castmates would speak the truth. I've dropped most of them. I don't care anymore. You were an asshole, he says of this guy who, he had mental illness problems and took his own life. That's kind of a bummer to say. I mean, this is a big news story by itself. But of course, now Boom Studios seems to want to echo this in what they're doing and wants to push an agenda through their diversity replacements as this goes on. But before we get to that, my friends, I have a new book on, of course, Fund My Comic called Topgrift. And Topgrift is about becoming your own man. It's about avoiding online scams, doing something good. It's a wholesome story that's excellent. And if you want something that's different than Boom Studios, if you want different from the industry, this is where we're going to have to go. So check this out. It's got art all the way through, complete through the interiors from Mike S. Miller, something I'm very proud to get him doing art on. He did DC's Injustice. He worked with Shadowversity's Shadow of the Conqueror. Some beautiful art on this and a wonderful story. That link's going to be in the description below for you. But here we are. This comes from my co-host in my live stream, Cider Hype, who points out, here it is, Olivia Hart, the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers The Return, reveals the new Green Ranger. Her name is Olivia Hart, the daughter of Kimberly and Tommy, character designed by Dan Mora. So now he's been replaced by a daughter, but it gets worse than that. So as Cider points out here, he knows the lore behind all the Power Ranger stuff. He's very into the Power Rangers. He says, now that JDF is dead, and that's the actor, Boom Studios has decided to bulldoze his career in the most humiliating reboot of his most iconic role. So brace yourselves. It's not just that they replaced him with a female who's his daughter. I actually really liked the Spider-Girl comic back in the 90s where they did that, and they did it right. I'll tell you the difference about that in a second. This is quite the opposite. Now he's an absentee father that abandoned his child, that's right, and left the Pink Ranger to leave her alone. So right, this is another feminist. Pink Ranger's doesn't need no man. He's abandoned her because he's just a punk because he's a man, and she's got a strong female lead daughter who don't need no daddy. Absolutely ridiculous, and this is just unfortunately par for the course of how the industry writes characters and just absolutely debases their heroes today. It's really sad because the Green Ranger was such a good redemption story to start. To see this turned into something where he's just a lousy father and destructive in life just sucks. It's a bummer. Now, the Spider-Girl did it right when they did the daughter of Peter Parker. And if you look at that back in the 90s, it wasn't cynical. It was quite the opposite. It was a what-if future storyline. So they weren't trying to just push it and get rid of Spider-Man in the main narrative or anything like that. And Peter Parker's older. He's kind of retired from being Spider-Man. He lost his leg in a battle, of course, against the Green Goblin. And then, of course, he's married to Mary Jane. They lived happily ever after. That's the way to do it. You make him a good father. He trains her how to be Spider-Girl, etc. And of course, it's nice to see a family. You can't do that in 2023 because fathers have to be denigrated in every single respect. And that's what's happening here with Boom Studios. It's really sick. And this is what the comic industry does. Now, it's really easy just not to do this. It's really easy for them to just give your heroes a happily ever after. If they did it so that Tommy and Kimberly got married or whatnot, just like, of course, Spider-Girl did, it would have been maybe something pretty good. But unfortunately, this is what they do in 2023. This is the woke. They have an agenda. It's anti-family across the board. And now it's going into kids shows like Power Rangers. All right, leave a comment down below with what you think about this. Hit that like and subscribe button. We'll be back soon.